Welcome all. Today we will discuss about issues related to reproductive technology and genetic testing. First of all, let's talk about meaning of assisted reproductive technology. In terms of medical terminology, use of technology to modify normal reproductive procedure in human and various other animals is called as assisted reproductive technology. The various examples of assisted reproductive techniques are intrauterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, zygote intrafallopian transfer, gamete intrafallopian transfer, intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
Meaning of genetic testing. Genetic testing is a form of medical testing which is used to see the changes in chromosomes, genes, or proteins.
Use of assisted reproductive technologies or genetic testing in medical terms. Reproductive technology or genetic testing are generally used by the person who need medical aid to reproduce. This can include the females who have difficulties in release of eggs or males having low sperm count. Can be used by homosexual couples who want to reproduce or by various other people who want to reproduce but can't do due to some reason. And it can be used to detect, alter or screen the sequencing of genes.
How assistive reproductive technologies are impacting persons with disability from social perspective. Impact of assisted reproductive technologies and genetic testing on diversity and inclusion. The concept of diversity encompasses acceptance and mutual respect. It means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. These differences can be with respect to gender, physical, social, or mental abilities. But the reproductive technologies, through selection of particular traits or altering the sequence of genes, create an imbalance in the diversity. For example, one of the techniques of genetic testing, prenatal testing, is used to determine the physiological condition of a fetus, particularly with regard to any genetic disability. As we have learned in this course, social model of disability reflects that it is not the disability but the attitude of society that upsets a person. So the disability activists implicit that use of such techniques promotes discrimination against existing people with disabilities and hence neglects the concept of inclusion.
Next is assumptions in the society about reproductive technology and how they impact on inclusion. The assumption in the society is that increased use of reproductive technology, in particular prenatal screening, will reduce the incidence of disability and increase quality of life. But it's impacting the concept of inclusion because on the basis of this assumption the premises that having children with disability is wholly undesirable and that the quality of life for a person with disability is less than that of others. This assumption promotes stereotypic attitude towards a person with disability and disrespect the concept of inclusion. Hence, we can say that it is not disability that increases the access of a person to environment, but it's environment that increases the access of person with disability.
Now we will discuss about some issues related to assistive reproductive technologies, genetic testing. First of all, social issues, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. In medical terms, having disability is considered as negative and with the help of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, health practitioners eliminate or modify the sequence of genes. But the social model of disability emphasizes on creating an inclusive society and hence disability is not considered as negative. So pre-implantation techniques by eliminating or changing the sequence of genes emphasize on creating a society without persons with disabilities, which is unfair and disregard the right of equality. As every person has his/her own individuality and strengths, the persons with disability have different processing of information and have their own strengths. We need to build a society accessible to all and not correct the individuality of a person.
The next issue is related to change of human efficiency. In medical sciences, reproductive technology emphasizes on correcting the disorder by changing the sequence of different genes. We have learned through our course that person having disability have different neurological or physiological processing, and they have their own efficiencies. For example, the person with autism have special interest, so when the practitioner disturb the sequence of some genes, they change the efficiency of an individual. Think of an Einstein. If society uses reproductive technologies to alter the genes related to disability, we would never have a person like Einstein.
Discrimination. In medical terms, prenatal testing technique is used to diagnose the genetic disorders in fetus during pregnancy, which marks the child with some labels even before birth, and as a result, the person with genetic disorders may be treated differently or may be excluded from some workplaces.
Next is negative imagery. Use of reproductive technology in medical terms project the disability as defects that need to be eliminated or corrected. This promotes a negative attitude in society and attaches stigma to the people with disability.
Next is stress. If someone is opting for the reproductive technology, usually it causes stress in the person who are experiencing it and also in their families. It creates negative attitude for the disability instead of a positive scenario. Moreover, if sometimes the people around them hear about their medical history, it leads to a stressful environment in their society.
The next social issue is impact on career. Various genetic testing techniques that reveal genetic information of individual with disability impact negatively on their career. This may reduce career opportunities for them and for them as employers may not select them by recognizing their strength, but they may just reject them because of the medical information pertaining to them. Here it is pertinent to mention that it is not necessary that various disabilities influence the output of the person at work. For example, as we have learned from our courses, that students with learning disability mostly have abilities to be successful entrepreneurs.
Next, we will discuss about some ethical concerns. To choose a world where persons with disability are not respected is an ethically uncaring choice. We are merely expressing moral preferences when saying a world without disability is better. So, using reproductive technologies to select embryo, oocyte, or spermatozoa reflect the unethical side of these technologies in respect to social model of disability and inclusive society. To have a disability makes you different, but it doesn't by itself make you worse off.
Next is ethical issues, privacy issues. Unauthorized access to an individual personal and private genetic information due to advancement in digital world is the major privacy issue related to genetic testing. The personal and private genetic information includes the family and hereditary genetic problems and complications.
Eugenics. It is a science of using genetic knowledge and genetic technologies to alter, modify the human genes to get the desired traits by controlled breeding. This corresponds to deny individuals their fundamental rights, predominantly individuals with disabilities and other susceptible populations. It develops the negative intention in the society for the people with disabilities as assistive reproductive technologies are trying to improve the quality of human species. Genetic testing and selective breeding is discouraging the reproduction of the persons with disabilities, which is negatively influencing the diverse range of skills and abilities in the society performed by different kind of people. As we have mentioned earlier, sometimes the people with learning disabilities or the people with autism have unique specialties which are necessary for the development of a balanced society.
Next is designer babies and ethical horror. The designer babies are developed by using assisted reproductive technologies. Use of genetically modified techniques to create designer babies with the potential to alter or modify the genetic makeup of a baby to reduce disability, project the negative imagery of disability. Use of such techniques to create babies of desired trait may endanger the existence of certain communities with disabilities. This technique projects stereotypic image of disability from the social perspective of disability model.